Today we're going to talk about what comes inside your Battlegroup Kursk rulebook. So lots of people have been wondering about this, so I thought I would share what's inside the Battlegroup. So first you'll notice it comes in a nice big hardbound book. Lots of information in it. For those who are curious, it's put out by Iron Fist Publishing and the Plastic Soldier Company. Iron Fist, Plastic Soldier. Here's the cover. So let's take a look at the inside. So I won't show you every single page, but I do want to show you enough that you get a pretty good idea of what's in here. As you can see, it starts off right away with a nice full color shot. And that's one thing I really enjoyed about the book, is it's got great art throughout. Full color pictures, pictures of miniatures, these nice hand draw pictures throughout. And a little bit about the book. It does say here rules for 15mm, 20mm miniatures. However, like with most games, you could probably play any scale, but you would have to make adjustments for ranges to fit your table size and your miniatures. But great artwork throughout. So looking at all these pictures just made me realize that my miniature painting skills are not quite up to par, but gives some great examples of what your Kursk battles can look like. We have a table of contents. One thing the book is missing though is an index. However, the contents is pretty detailed, but there is online. They have like a living index project going on, so if you needed an index, you can get one off the internet. The book is divided into several sections. The rules, a little bit of history about the Battle of Kursk, has the army lists, some different battles you can fight in Kursk, a model painting guide which we'll take a peek at, a campaign, and then an appendix. So the first part is kind of an introduction to gaming in Kursk, and then again some sample pictures. Then we get into the rules, and for some folks it's rules light. The rules are about 40 some pages, but they do a very good job in capturing the feel, and we'll hit specific rules later on. But as we flip through the rules, movement, then little things like how to do overrunning, pinned. Again, it continues on with the great art of the miniatures throughout. What I also like too is it takes actual pictures from the Kursk area during World War II, and then little blurblets of what's happening in the picture. Covers aimed fire. After you get through some of the basic rules, then it goes in and talks about specific weapons used at the Battle of Kursk. Covers some more rules: aimed fire, indirect artillery fire. And I haven't shown you every single page though, but just giving you an idea of what it covers. Morale covered, the battle rating system, which we'll talk about at another time. Special rules for the units, aircraft, anti-aircraft, engineering on the battlefield, then after you've covered the bulk of the rules right through here, it goes right into specifics about the Battle of Kursk, which I thought is very interesting. I've read quite a, well, I won't say I've read quite a bit, but you know, a lot of my knowledge comes from like the History Channel. So it's nice to see that some of that History Channel is paid off, but it is cool to look in here and have it as a great reference. Orders of battle, then a timeline. I'm just going to kind of flip ahead. It actually has a very large section about the actual battle. And after it gets done telling you about the battle, let me go back a page. Then it gets into a section on the army lists. Now there's 4 army lists. There's 2 for the Germans, 2 for the Russians. One is for the mechanized, the Panzer list, and another would be the infantry. And it's the same for the Russians as well. You got tank list, infantry list. Talks about the points that you would need to spend if you're doing the points battles. For the size, you know, like if you're doing a squad battle, the maximum amount of points you can have, how many restricted units. And we'll actually go into a little video later on about building your army. As you get to the lists, the first thing that it does show though is the vehicles used in your army list. So it talks about the different vehicles, the variants that you can purchase, and then it gives the stats. So then you've got armored vehicles, lots of different vehicles. After it talks about the vehicles, it then goes into the gun data. So for example, you would have to look on one page to find out your Stug 3 A through E models, and it tells you the size of the cannon that it uses. And then to find out the damage of the cannon, you'd have to flip to the relevant gun data section and look up that particular weapon to find the weapon damage. Then after it's looked at the equipment, it goes into the actual lists and how to build them. Like I said, first is your Panzer Division groups. Tells you how to build the platoons, Armored Assault Pioneers, your Panzer Grenadiers, to buy your tank units, and just to flip through, not to show you too much. Then it covers the infantry side of things. They'll have some of their own points values because the emphasis would be, either tanks or the infantry. Artillery. So after it goes through and talks about the equipment for the Germans, then it hops right into the Russians and does the same thing. Gives a little bit about history about the vehicles that were fought at Kursk on the Russian side. Then it goes into a list of their armored vehicles. After it does the vehicles, then it covers the guns. Then it talks about how to build the specific list. There's the tanks. And just to flip through and not show you every page. Then it goes the rifle division. Again, just kind of flipping through to give you an idea. And again, every few pages they got the great examples of the models. After you have your forces, then it starts talking about scenarios that you can do. So this goes into how to build your own battles for Kursk. So it talks about terrain, has a random terrain generator, so you can kind of put your own battle together. They have a introductory scenario, clash or reconnaissance. Then it goes into talking about what they call like the reusable scenarios. These are kind of like the generic ones that don't tell you the specific forces to use, but it gives you a generic layout like an attack, counterattack, flanking, bridgehead breakout, defense line. Tells you a little bit about how to set it up, weather conditions, special rules for the map. After you hit those generic scenarios, then it has a painting guide, which is actually really, really good. I'm not very good at painting, so even folks that, like for myself, that are new, I actually did pick up a couple tips that I'm going to try on my next set of miniatures. So for some people, the modeling section might not be very important, but for those starting out new to the hobby, it doesn't hurt. It gives you some motivation to keep going at it yourself. Then it gives you some very common vehicles used at Kursk that it goes into how you can paint them up for your battle. I like it because it's showing you the camouflage schemes that were probably commonly used at the Battle of Kursk. So you don't always have to paint everything a German gray or kind of like that Russian green. So at least you might be able to get some ideas for an authentic camouflage pattern. And then it even has a brief section on how to build a Kursk battle terrain map. Then it goes into the campaign, which is a series of historical scenarios linked together. And of course you could play the scenarios one by one, or as the mega campaign as they call it, or one weekend you could play one scenario. And the difference between the first 6 free form scenarios and what you have here is the historical scenarios clearly define what forces are used, so you don't have to build your armies from a point system. It already tells you what vehicles and equipment will be there, so you just have to kind of build up the specific army. I'm just flipping through the scenarios they have. I believe there's 5 altogether. Finally, after you hit your scenarios, the last item it covers, and I really like this, is the appendix. It takes a lot of the data sheets that are mentioned earlier in the book and just puts it all at the end in one little section, so you don't have to keep flipping to the middle of the book. So you have your quick reference sheet, all the German equipment, then it's got the German guns, and then finally the Russian equipment. Again, it's got the great art. That's one thing I really like about the book, is all the art. I say art, but pictures and miniatures. Then what I like is, after you get past the Plastic Soldier Company ad, they have 2 sheets that you can tear out. This one sheet here, the first one, it's the quick reference sheet. It's 2 pages. You can tear it out. I haven't. I'm going to print one out. They have a PDF available online, so you can print out the quick reference sheet. And really, this pretty much contains everything you need to play the game. So I was actually surprised. Even though it's like 45 pages of rules, it's condensed nicely to this 2-page quick reference sheet. And then they have a sheet that you could cut out and have your own, the battle record. What I've done, I've actually got them buried away somewhere. I went online and I found somebody who, instead of using this form here, he actually had them on printout cards. So when you are tracking your casualties, instead of drawing the little chit, you actually just take a card, flip it over, and then, you know, keep that secret from your opponent, but now you know what your battle rating is. And these are homemade cards. I was doing some different things, so they don't look very professional, but, you know, just shuffle them up, draw your card. These are all 3s. There's a 5. So different ways that you can track your battle rating. I like the cards. And that is the book, briefly, from front to back. So again, Battlegroup Kursk, that's the inside. We will be going over specific rules examples later on. We'll be showing you how to do aim, fire, things of that nature. But if you have any questions about the book, something that you want to see in more detail, obviously I can't show you every single thing slide by slide, page by page. Buy the book, it's worth it. You can find it online at a good price. But if you do have questions, just let me know.